They mocked her shot the moment she stepped onto the range, whispering, snickering, and nudging each other like it was all some kind of joke, because she didn't look like them, short hair tied back, gear that didn't shine like theirs, boots scuffed from field time, and a calm face that didn't show off or beg attention. And when she stepped to the firing line with a rifle that wasn't custom or carbon but old school and worn with scratches across the stock, a tall recruit behind her barked a laugh. And said loud enough for others to hear, "You sure you're not lost, sweetheart?" While another joked, "Maybe she's here to clean the scopes." And still she said nothing, only loaded her round with careful hands, eyes locked down range where the mock target was so far most couldn't see it with the naked eye. And while the others talked about stats and tech and scopes, she adjusted her windage by feel, ignoring the smirks around her, until one of the instructors, a young, eager officer named Darren Blake, walked over, arms crossed, and said, "You know this isn't beginner's lane, right?" But she just looked at him and said, "Clear me for shot," and though he chuckled, he gave a quick nod and stepped back, not knowing that the woman standing in front of him once flew missions most files still had red tape across, and when she fired, there was a breathless silence, a stillness broken not by the recoil or the echo, but by the sudden buzz of the radar monitor lighting up red with a confirmed hit, and someone near the back muttered, "No way," while another stepped forward to check the system, and then the general, who had been walking past the upper deck with visiting brass, stopped cold, looked down, and shouted, "Who fired that?" And when the officer beside him pointed, the general stared hard, jaw clenched, and said, "Jesus, are you the Black Falcon?" And for a second no one moved because the name hadn't been spoken in years, not since an off-the-record operation where a lone marksman took out a rogue aircraft in flight with one ground shot during a shadow conflict the world never heard about, and now she stood there again, still quiet, still calm, the name brushing against the air like a ghost people weren't sure was ever real, and while a few younger soldiers stepped back, embarrassed, one of them, the loudest of the bunch, stepped forward and said, "That's impossible, she's just a trainer, right?" But the general didn't answer. He walked straight down, medals bouncing against his chest, face hard with memory, and stopped inches from her, lowering his voice, saying, "They said you were dead," and she replied, "They let that rumor live so I could," and the general just nodded, then turned to the officers who had laughed and barked, "Clear the deck, now," as the recruits scrambled, unsure what they'd just witnessed, and still she didn't move, until one of the radar techs rushed out holding the tablet screen, eyes wide, saying, "Sir, the trajectory matches the Falcon signature," and the general took the screen, stared at the data, and said under his breath, "She didn't miss," and word spread fast across the base, faster than any order, that the Black Falcon had returned, and whispers turned into silence wherever she walked. But it wasn't over because that hit had activated something else, a code buried in the system. A protocol alert from a 20-year-old operation that had never been closed, and when she returned to her quarters, there was a man waiting, one eye cloudy, uniform worn like stone, and he said, "If you're alive, then they'll come for the rest of us," and she looked at him with quiet certainty and said, "Then we stop hiding," because the truth was, that shot wasn't just a test, it was a signal, and somewhere deep in the mountains, someone else saw the alert and picked up a satellite phone, whispering into the line, "She's back," and hung up without saying more. And within 24 hours, a new command came down from top brass to re-evaluate deactivated agents from Project Talon, the same group she'd once led and walked away from after a mission went wrong and two of her closest were declared KIA, only now, with her confirmed alive, the others might be too, and as she was called into a high-security debriefing room, a new officer pushed the door open and said, "We just got an inbound threat marker tied to your signature," and she turned slowly, voice even. "Coordinates," and when they gave her the map, her face changed because the threat was coming from the exact crash site she'd marked in her logbook 15 years ago, a crash no one believed happened, a mission they buried because it involved an authorized tech and a rogue element inside command, and she whispered, "Then it's not over," and before she could be assigned a team, she stood and said, "I'll go alone." But outside the door stood 3 officers in plain uniforms who said, "Not this time, Falcon." Because they were the ones presumed dead, and she stared at them, barely believing, then said, "Where's 6?" And the tallest replied, "Still missing, last seen in the Nevada grid," and just like that, the room shifted, not into grief, but into purpose, because if 6 was alive, then so was the enemy that took him, and while the base prepped for possible breach, Falcon and the remaining Talon members suited up in gear that hadn't seen daylight in over a decade. And when they walked out, the same recruits who mocked her lined up. In silence, saluting without command, their eyes no longer doubting but wide with respect, because some legends walk out of stories and remind you they were real all along, and as Falcon led her team into a black chopper, her old rifle in hand and scars finally uncovered on her neck and shoulder, the radar once again buzzed, this time not with a hit, but with a rogue aircraft entering the zone marked cleared forever, and the tech at the desk whispered. Why would they come back now? And the general, watching the chopper lift off, said, because they think she's alone. But this time she wasn't, and as the Talon bird rose into the evening sky, a private near the tarmac whispered, so, she really was the one who took down the Falcon jet. And the officer beside him answered, no. She was the reason they built it. And with that, the screen went dark except for one blinking word, reactivated.